things are better left unknown. And I'll never find you here, 'cause no one's ever home. Oh, what a widow, a peaceful spider. When the glass is clean, she's a sneaky hider. Hide the lies and the alibis. Oh, what a sinner is it in her? What's the truth in this riddle? Is love really just this simple? I can't seem to find my way in this world that never stays. What a widow, a peaceful spider. When the glass is clean, she's a sneaky hider. Hide the lies and the alibis. What a sinner is it in her? Is this real? Just illusion? I'm lost in the wonderland of confusion. I'm lost in the wonderland of confusion. Is this real or just illusion? Manifestation or a dark delusion? Is this real or just illusion? I'm lost in a wonderland of confusion.
Rip'n Rabbit Hole is a community-driven radio. At times the community comments may reveal prejudices and other beliefs that we or our sponsors do not condone. Views or opinions expressed by the community, callers, or guests, are those of the individual speaking and do not represent the views or opinions of this site. Rip'n Common Sense content is intended for mature audiences only. Enjoy.
Multiverse broadcasting system initiated.
Lasers.
Multiverse connection established.
Lasers.
Hello.
Multiverse connection secure.
This station is now the ultimate power in the universe.
This is My Life DIY, and
hi, this is JoJo.
Hi, my name is Az.
Hey everybody, it's AJ the Rip'n Rabbit.
This is Cynthia Sue Larson.
This is your man Meta, aka Propagate This Light.
And you're now listening
to DarkWolf's Den.
The DarkWolf's Den Show on Rip'n Common Sense Radio.
Are ghosts real?
We had 1,000 hours of continuous communication with the spirit world.
Does time travel actually exist?
The laws of physics seem to be compatible with time machines.
You know, sometimes I wonder about reincarnation, don't you?
A 4-year-old boy in Adelaide, Australia, has told his parents that he used to be Britain's Princess Diana.
What would happen if the world found out that aliens were real?
I didn't say disclosure would be easy, but what is the alternative?
To establish a space force as the 6th branch of the armed forces.
We have so many questions and yet so little time, so to have you here, the pleasure is all mine.
Coming to you from a secret cave, hidden deep within the wilderness. This is the DarkWolf's Den Show. Now, here is your host, Jerry Hicks.
That's right, I am Jerry Hicks, also known as the Dark Wolf, and we are broadcasting live across the multiverse from a secret cave hidden deep within the wilderness of Tennessee. That's right. We're ripping through the electromagnetic soup, tearing through the atmosphere, and tunneling away into your radio like a quantum particle. This is the DarkWolf's Den Show for Thursday, September the 23rd, 2021. So whether you're on the edge of reality, the edge of the galaxy, or the edge of your seat, we're glad you chose us to be right there with you. Tonight, folks, we are going to dig into the subject of the music of the plants. That's right. If you remember last Sunday, if you didn't check out the episode, make sure you go back and look at it. But we talked about the Mandela effect with Miss Cynthia Sue Larson, and we touched on the music of the plants, and everybody seemed to be quite intrigued and enthused by the topic, so I went ahead and did a little more research and came up with quite a bit, and I'm going to present all that tonight for you guys. That's coming up tonight, Thursday, September 23rd, 2021, on the DarkWolf's Den Show. But first, let's see who all we have over here in the chat room with us tonight. It looks like we've got a very small selection of people tonight over here, or at least that's what the internet is showing me. It seems like we're having some issues tonight here. We're having it sign off randomly for some reason. It's not doing it on my end, so I don't know what that issue is. Definitely refresh if it logs off or it looks like it's ended. I assure you the show has not ended yet. Let me go ahead and check over here. Yeah, it seems to be running from my end, so everything seems to be smooth. I do apologize. YouTube's been goofy lately, of course. But hello, everybody over here. JoJo's waving in the DarkWolf's Den Show chat, saying hello. Hello, JoJo. Modern4 is over there. Michael Fontaine. I'm the only one here. No, once again, YouTube's being really, really goofy. Internet wonky as heck today, says JoJo's. Absolutely. XGen said that Ripin signed off. Once again, I do hope that you refresh. I put that over there. And I'll go ahead and put that in the chat here too, just in case anybody is having any issues. My Life DIY says, my internet just came back after almost 5 hours down. Glad you were able to make it back with us, My Life. And XGen over in the DarkWolf's Den Show chat, or I'm sorry, the Rippin' Rabbit Hole chat says, evening, fellow travelers. Evening, XGen. Terry Taggart first in the room over there tonight, at least on my screen, says, very interesting topic tonight. Interesting indeed. XGen says it did that refresh thing to him last week at work too. Well, I'm glad to have you back. My DWD channel never pops up recently. I have to go find it. You know, YouTube has been messing with me for so long. It's not even a surprise at this point. Speaking of surprises, I do have a couple surprise announcements. Our buddy Pete over at the Creepy Little Book Live YouTube channel, his birthday was Monday. He did a really awesome show over there, opening all kinds of gifts. That was cool. And then JoJo's, our friend JoJo's here in the chat, our mod in the DWD show. Her birthday was Tuesday, so happy birthday to both of you guys. I hope you have had an absolute blast during the week. And now we're well into our weekend. So, Mandani Mall, hey Mandani Mall, good to see you, bud. It says budding musicians tonight. See what you did there. And of course, as you guys know, before we can get into the music of the plants, we have two more fun little segments to do. The first of which we call Today in History. On this day in 1780, British Major John Andre reveals Benedict Arnold's plot to betray West Point. And I would say today we need a couple more people like John Andre to reveal the plots that are going on right now to destroy the American way of life. But that is, of course, just my opinion, and that is today's segment of Today in History. As many of you may or may not know, yesterday, September 22nd, was the equinox, which means we are headed into autumn, of course. And with that said, it's time for campfires and pumpkin spice until you're absolutely sick of it, as well as pumpkin bread and pumpkin cake and pumpkin cookies and pumpkin candy and all the fun pumpkin stuff, right? But seriously. And that brings us, of course, to our next segment, which is called Say What? God, I love that soundbite. The quote of the day today, it comes from actor Michael Caine. He says, and I quote, "I love the start of autumn, when the trees in my garden change the color of their leaves in one dazzling display," end quote. And of course, that's all of our favorite parts of autumn, right? At least one of my favorite parts is, especially down in the south here, as watching the colors of the leaves change to such a variety of beautiful different colors. Absolutely amazing. But that is today's segment of Say What? And of course, the plants and leaves turning every winter is something we're quite used to, something we almost take for granted, right? But it's actually pretty incredible in my opinion. But plants and trees can do so very much more. It's almost like they're conscious, right? What do you guys think? I'm going to go ahead and start this episode off with a question. Go ahead, put a 1 in the chat room if you think plants are conscious. Absolutely believe plants have consciousness, much like you and I. Go ahead, put a 2 in the chat room if you think no way that plants do not have a consciousness at all. Put a 3 in the chat room if you're unsure either way. While we wait on those answers to come in, there's been a lot, and I mean a lot of research done in this field, right? All the way back to the 1970s, I found some research from the Soviet Union that suggested something very interesting.
Research conducted in the Soviet Union leads scientists to believe that plants may think. Attached to delicate electronic instruments, a cabbage plant registers annoyance to the exhaling of tobacco smoke on its leaf surfaces.
And of course, this doesn't really seem all that impressive. I mean, think about it. It's just reacting to a chemical in the environment. Of course, this time the chemical being nicotine. But let's see what you guys said over there in the chat room. 1, if you think plants can be conscious. 2, if you think there's no way a plant can be conscious. It's unconscious material. 3, if you are unsure, remember. So let's see what you guys said over there in the chat rooms. It looks like we've got 1s across the board. I cannot say I'm surprised by that. Kind of what I expected. We have 1s from Terry Taggart, 1 from XGen. Absolutely, plants can be conscious. You better believe it. 1.3 from Raider Champion. Maybe heading towards the maybe not, but definitely on the 1 side. Man, Danny Mall with the 1. Make no doubt, plants can be conscious. And then over in the DarkWolf's Den Show chat, we have My Life DIY with the 1s across the board. Once again, definitely believe in plant consciousness. JoJo's with the 1. Plants are absolutely conscious. Michael Fontaine 1. It's been shown with lettuce. Cabbage is what we're working with here in this particular experiment. And Cynthia Sanchez also says 1 without a doubt. And if you guys remember the first experiment we just had a couple moments ago where they blew the smoke onto the cabbage gave a response. But once again, that's not really surprising to me. A chemical in the wild causing a response in a plant. That's kind of the way nature works. So not too impressive there. Let's see what other kind of experiments were run on this same cabbage plant.
A scene familiar in any kitchen takes on special importance in this experiment.
In this particular experiment, a lady has a head of cabbage with a knife on a table and about to chop it up as, one would to cook with. And in the same room, just a few feet away, is another cabbage plant with electrodes hooked to it to see what kind of reaction is garnered, if any, from this plant while she is chopping the other cabbage plant. Let's see the results.
In some mysterious way, the plant which is attached to the instrument is able to feel the mutilation of its comrade.
So the equipment was able to pick up very distinct reactions from the other cabbage plant that was not being cut into, but they went ahead and took this experiment just one step farther.
In a more advanced experiment, technicians were asked to pass through a laboratory containing 2 living cabbage plants. One of the subjects has been instructed to destroy the plant which is not attached to the electronic instruments.
As you can imagine, once again, the other plant definitely had a reaction. However, that wasn't all of the experiment.
Hours later, the technicians are asked to return to the scene of the crime. The evidence is clear. The remaining plant has correctly identified the assailant.
And remember, this data was from 1979. We've come a long way since then. This is 2021, of course, and we've got a whole lot better equipment than they did back then. We can actually listen to what plants have to say and learn just how smart they really are. And I promise this is leading into the music coming from the plants. Just bear with me as we lay out this whole case for those who may be new to this topic.
I'm a neuroscientist, and I'm the co-founder of Backyard Brains. And our mission is to train the next generation of neuroscientists by taking graduate-level neuroscience research equipment and making it available for kids in middle schools and high schools. And so when we go into the classroom, one way to get them thinking about the brain, which is very complex, is to ask them a very simple question about neuroscience, and that is, what has a brain?
Well, I can definitely tell you that sorry excuse for a human sitting in the White House sure doesn't. Oh, I'm sorry, did I say that live? Sorry about that. Anyway, what does have a brain? Do animals have a brain? Well, of course. Do humans have a brain? Of course. But how would you define this question?
When we ask that, students will instantly tell you that their cat or dog has a brain, and most will say that a mouse or even a small insect has a brain, but almost nobody says that a plant or a tree or a shrub has a brain.
I think we can all agree that, generally speaking, a plant or a shrub of some type doesn't have a brain, and yet they're still smarter than Joe Biden.
And so when you push, because this could actually help describe a little bit how the brain actually functions, so you push and say, well, what is it that makes living things have brains versus not? And often they'll come back with the classification that things that move tend to have brains. And that's absolutely correct. I mean, our nervous system evolved because it is electrical, it's fast, so we can quickly respond to stimuli in the world and move if we need to. But you can go back and push back on the students. You say, well, you say that plants don't have brains, but plants do move. Anyone who's grown a plant has noticed that the plant will move and face the sun.
And that's true. Anybody who has grown a plant knows that they literally reach for the light, right?
But they'll say, but that's a slow movement, that doesn't count. That could be a chemical process. But what about fast-moving plants? Now, in 1760, Arthur Dobbs, the royal governor of North Carolina, made a pretty fascinating discovery. In the swamps behind his house, he found a plant that would spring shut every time a bug would fall in between it. And he called this plant the Flytrap.
I'm sure most of us are pretty familiar with the Venus flytrap at this point. The only plant that I was aware of as a child that was actually a carnivore and would eat meat like flies, right?
And within a decade, it made its way over to Europe, where eventually the great Charles Darwin got to study this plant, and this plant absolutely blew him away. He called it the most wonderful plant in the world. This is a plant that was an evolutionary wonder. This is a plant that moves quickly, which is rare. And it's a plant that's carnivorous, which is also rare. And it's in the same plant. But I'm here today to tell you that's not even the coolest thing about this plant.
Okay, Greg Case, blow my mind.
The coolest thing is that the plant can count.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen. You heard that right. The plant can count. That is pretty cool, I gotta say. And for those on YouTube, we are going to have a series of pictures here. So if you would like to see the pictures, go ahead and log on to YouTube on either the DarkWolf's Den Show page or the Rippin' Rabbit Hole YouTube channel also.
So in order to show that, we have to get some vocabulary out of the way. So I'm going to do what we do in the classroom with students. We're going to do an experiment on electrophysiology, which is the recording of the body's electrical signals, either coming from neurons or from muscles. And I'm putting some electrodes here on my wrists, and as I hook them up, we're going to be able to see a signal on the screen here. And this signal may be familiar to you. It's called the EKG, or the electrocardiogram, and this is coming from neurons in my heart that are firing what's called action potentials. Potential meaning voltage, and action meaning it moves quickly up and down, which causes my heart to fire, which then causes the signal that you see here.
And that picture should be on screen right now. This is the classic EKG picture that you would expect to see if you hooked a machine like this up to a human, right?
And so I want you to remember the shape of what we're going to be looking at right here, because this is going to be important. So this is a way that the brain encodes information in the form of an action potential. So now, let's turn to some plants. So I'm going to first introduce you to the mimosa, not the drink, but the Mimosa Pudica. And this is a plant that's found in Central America and South America, and it has behaviors. And the first behavior I'm going to show you is if I touch the leaves here, you get to see that the leaves tend to curl up.
And again, that picture should be on screen over in YouTube right now. This is actually very amazing that it has such a quick response to an outside stimulus.
And then the second behavior is, if I tap the leaf, the entire branch seems to fall down. So why does it do that?
And again, that should be the picture you're looking at now.
It's not really known to science. One of the reasons why could be that it scares away insects, or it looks less appealing to herbivores. But how does it do that? Now that's interesting. We can do an experiment to find out. So what we're going to do now, just like I recorded the electrical potential from my body, we're going to record the electrical potential from this plant right here, this mimosa. And so what we're going to do is I've got a wire wrapped around the stem, and I've got the ground electrode where?
In the ground?
In the ground. It's an electrical engineering joke. All right. So all right, so I'm going to go ahead and tap the leaf here, and I want you to look at the electrical recording that we're going to see inside the plant. Whoa, it's so big. I got to scale it down. All right.
And once again, picture on screen. It's interesting that it does register this electrical signal the moment that it was touched.
So what is that? That is an action potential that's happening inside the plant. Why was it happening? Because it wanted to move, right? And so when I hit the touch receptors, it sent a voltage all the way down to the end of the stem, which caused it to move. And now in our arms, we would move our muscles, but in the plant doesn't have muscles. What it has are water inside the cells, and when the voltage hits it, it opens up, releases the water, changes the shape of the cells, and the leaf falls. Okay, so here we see an action potential encoding information to move, all right? But can it do more? So let's going to find out. We're going to go to our good friend, the Venus flytrap here.
And of course, we have all seen a Venus flytrap and how they work, how they close up and eat a fly. But do we know why they work? This is very fascinating to me. And again, I do promise we are getting to the music part. Just bear with me, guys.
And we're going to take a look at what happens inside the leaf when a fly lands on here. So I'm going to pretend to be a fly right now. And here's my Venus flytrap. And inside the leaf, you're going to notice that there are 3 little hairs here, and those are trigger hairs. And so when a fly lands, I'm going to touch one of the hairs right now. Ready? 1, 2, 3. What do we get? We get a beautiful action potential. However, the fly trap doesn't close.
And again, if you would like to follow along and see the pictures that we are presenting, we are on both YouTube streams, the DarkWolf's Den Show and the Rippin' Rabbit Hole. So come on over there if you would like to see the pictures that go along with this presentation.
And to understand why that is, we need to know a little bit more about the behavior of the fly trap. And number one is that it takes a long time to open the traps back up, about 24 to 48 hours if there's no fly inside of it. And so it takes a lot of energy.
That's a long time to reopen that trap, 24 to 48 hours to be able to be reopened. So it's not like it just flops back open just as soon as it realizes nothing is there.
And number two, it doesn't need to eat that many flies throughout the year. It only needs to eat a handful. It gets most of its energy from the sun. It's just trying to replace some nutrients in the ground with the flies. And the third thing is, it only opens, then closes the traps a handful of times until that trap dies. So therefore, it wants to make really darn sure that there's a meal inside of it before the fly trap snaps shut. So how does it do that?
Because of these limitations by nature, that the trap dies after so many openings and closings, and it is very limited on its ability as far as how long it can live and thrive, given how many times that it opens. But nature has come up with a very fascinating workaround for this.
It counts the number of seconds between successive touching of those hairs. And so the idea is that there's a high probability if there's a fly inside of there that they're going to be quick together. And so when it gets the first action potential, it starts counting 1, 2, and if it gets to 20 and it doesn't fire again, then it's not going to close. But if it does it within there, then the fly trap will close. So we're going to go back now. I'm going to touch the Venus flytrap again. I've been talking for more than 20 seconds. So we can see what happens when I touch the hair a second time. So what do we get? We get a second action potential, but again, the leaf doesn't close. So now if I go back in there, and then if I'm a fly moving around, I'm going to be touching the leaf a few times. I'm going to go and brush it a few times. And immediately the fly trap closes. So here we're seeing the fly trap actually doing a computation. It's determining if there's a fly inside the trap, and then it closes.
So the plant is literally doing a computation to figure out whether or not something is inside of it. That takes a little bit more than a couple chemicals to accomplish. That shows at least some degree of intelligence, albeit based on electrical signal. Just the same, it is some degree of intelligence that it does count that differential there.
So let's go back to our original question. Do plants have brains? Well, the answer is no. There's no brains in here. There's not no axons, no neurons. It doesn't get depressed. It doesn't want to know what the Tiger score is. It doesn't have self-actualization problems. But what it does have is something that's very similar to us, which is the ability to communicate using electricity.
And that right there is the key takeaway. The ability to communicate with electricity. Coming up, that is going to be incredibly important.
It just uses slightly different ions than we do, but it's actually doing the same thing. So just to show you the ubiquitous nature of these action potentials, we saw it in the Venus flytrap. We've seen an action potential in the mimosa. We've even seen an action potential in a human. Now, this is the euro of the brain. It's the way that all information is passed. And so what we can do is we can use those action potentials to pass information between species of plants. And so this is our interspecies plant-to-plant communicator. And what we've done is we've created a brand new experiment where we're going to record the action potential from a Venus flytrap, and we're going to send it into the sensitive mimosa. So I want you to recall what happens when we touch the leaves of the mimosa. It has touch receptors that are sending that information back down in the form of an action potential. And so what would happen if we took the action potential from the Venus flytrap and sent it into all the stems of the mimosa? We should be able to create the behavior of the mimosas without actually touching it ourselves. And so if you allow me, I'm going to go ahead and trigger this mimosa right now by touching on the hairs of the Venus flytrap. So we're going to send information about touch from one plant to another. So there you see it. So
and as you can see by the picture on the screen, it definitely reacted by all the leaves falling down when he touched the Venus flytrap. So now that we know that plants communicate in electrical signals, is there anything that we can do with that? Well, of course there is. We can use that to make music, but how? How would we use the electrical signals of a plant to make music?
One question that I receive very often is that whether the sound that you can hear in the recording is coming directly from the plant.
And if you're interested in actually hearing the music that come out of these different plants, we will be playing that in the second half of the show, so definitely stick around for that.
So some people find it difficult to understand what they are actually listening to, whether and they some people also think that the sound that they're listening to is coming directly from the plant. And I would like to explain a little bit how this works. This video is made for people who do not have an understanding of musical technology. So I'm going to explain a very, very basic element in the process of the music of the plant, which is the connection, the Midi connection. I would like to explain what this is, because it will make the whole process very clear to understand.
And MIDI stands for Musical Instrument Device Interface, MIDI. It is one of the original ways that people would attach a musical instrument to their computer. And this technology has been used for a variety of reasons, and now to make music from the plants.
So for example, I have a keyboard here. This is a MIDI keyboard. If I switch this keyboard on and I play, there's no sound. And there is no sound because this is only a controller. So this keyboard needs to get the sounds from a sound module or a source of sounds. This could be an external module, or more commonly nowadays it would be a computer. So if I connect this keyboard with a MIDI cable to my computer, then I can get the sounds from the computer. This is a piano, but it could be anything else. It could be, for example, strings. So all the sounds I would like to use are in the computer, and I can just assign the sounds to the keyboard. And for example, I can also create more synthesizer sounds. So how does this relate to the music of the plants? If I replace this keyboard with this device here, the U1 device for the music of the plants, this device has the same kind of connection that this keyboard has. So if I take the cable that I am using for this keyboard here, the MIDI cable, and I plug it into this device, now this device is able to take the sounds from the computer the same way the keyboard is.
So this all sounds pretty simple so far, but here's where the cool part comes in.
Now what happens is that I can connect this device to a plant, and the device will detect changes in the electric potential between the roots and the leaves of the plant, and will translate these signals into a MIDI kind of signals that can be read by the computer. Can be the computer can put a sound to these electrical variations happening in the plant.
So we just learned a little bit ago that plants work on electrical axioms or electrical potential. Now we've got a way to read that electrical potential and allow the plants to literally speak to us in a musical form using the difference in electricity within it. Absolutely fascinating, in my opinion.
So these are the two electrodes that are used to connect the U1 device to the plant. This one goes to the roots and this one goes to the leaf. So if I plug this electrode here in the soil very delicately, and I put it close to the roots of the plant, and I place this other one here on the leaf, and then I switch the device on, and now the device is adjusting and reading the electricity coming from the plant, and it's already transmitting the signal to the MIDI cable and to the computer to get the sound. So what I was doing before with the keyboard, now the plant is doing basically the same, and it's using this device as if it was a keyboard.
So pretty simple setup using the electrical potential of the plants that we learned about earlier to send through a device into a synthesizer in the computer that can read this information and create an output of a beautiful sound. And we're going to hear what the different plants sound like, because that's one thing I'm fascinated by. Do all the plants sound the same, or do they all sound differently? We're going to find out all about that and more coming up in the second half. And we do have to go ahead and take a network break right here, ladies and gentlemen. So my name's Jerry Hicks, also known as the Dark Wolf, and you're listening to the DarkWolf's Den Radio Show, exclusively on Rippin' Common Sense Radio Network, the Rippin' Rabbit Hole. We'll be right back with the second half after these messages. Don't you touch that dial. That's right.
We gotta stoke the fires and run off the men in black. Don't touch that dial. We'll be right back.
Oh yeah, Jerry Hicks and the DarkWolf's Den Show on a Thursday night. Are you enjoying the music of plants? I know I am. If you are and you haven't done so already, please make sure to thumb up that video, hit that subscribe button, and ring that bell. You'll get our notifications every time we go live. We're here every Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday nights, bringing you the very best of Common Sense Radio, the Rippin' Rabbit Hole. I'll return again tomorrow night, Friday, September 24th, with a look at whistleblowers. We'll dive deep down the rabbit hole and explore the whistleblowers of the past, the present, and perhaps even the future. Then Saturday night, September 25th, we're going to explore the proverbial question of, is the glass half empty or is it half full? Maybe it's just 50-50. Either way, we'll find out. Saturday night, September 25th. Starts at 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central, as all shows do. And then we'll end out the weekend right together with you. Sunday night, September 26th. Come along with me as we dive through the rabbit hole of donating your body and organs to science. What happens to the human body in the name of science when you are an organ donor may surprise and even shock you. Sunday night, we'll end out the weekend right together with you. If you haven't done so already, please hop on over to our website, rippinrabbithole.com. That's RIPONRABBITHOLE.com. There you can sign up for your exclusive backstage pass. It's going to give you unfiltered access down the rabbit hole where the conversation continues after the show. It's our community-generated press. You have the ability to set up a profile, and then you can use the wall. It's absolutely free to sign up, and it always will be. So come on over and join our community-generated press. Believe it or not, next weekend is going to be the first weekend of October. That Sunday means that Beat Eugene, the October edition, the 4th edition of Beat Eugene, returns to the weekend lineup the first Sunday of every month. In this case, October 3rd, next Sunday, Beat Eugene. My, oh my, how time does fly. We'll return now back to the DarkWolf Den Radio Show for Thursday, September 23rd, 2021. Jerry Hicks and the music of the plants. You're listening to the Rippin' Common Sense Radio Network, the Rippin' Rabbit Hole.
Reestablishing multiverse connection. Connection reestablished and secure.
This is My Life DIY, and
Hi, this is JoJo.
Hi, my name is Ice.
Hey everybody, it's AJ the Rippin' Rabbit.
This is Cynthia Sue Larson.
This is your man Meta, aka Propagate This Light.
And you're now listening
to DarkWolf's Den.
The DarkWolf's Den Show on Rippin' Common Sense Radio.
If you were meant to be controlled, you would have come with a remote, but you didn't. And that's why you listen to the DarkWolf's Den Show. Now, here is your host, Jerry Hicks.
That's right, I am Jerry Hicks, also known as the Dark Wolf, and welcome back to the second half of the DarkWolf's Den Show for Thursday, September the 23rd, 2021. So whether you're on the edge of reality, the edge of the galaxy, or the edge of your seat, we're glad you chose us to be right there with you. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're just tuning in tonight, you have missed an explosive first half. We've covered a very large amount of information on how plants communicate and how the music of the plants actually works. And now in the second half, we're going to really dig deep and dive into the actual music of the plants, right? I know I've teased it all episode long, and here we go. We have a variety of different plants and the music that they have made, and what we're about to hear is really fascinating in my opinion. We're going to hear such differentials between these plants. We're going to start out with one that I'm pretty sure everybody is quite aware of, the cannabis plant. Let's see what the cannabis plant sounds like. You know, for a plant that has such relaxing qualities, the music definitely does match. It almost sounds otherworldly, right? But very, very calm and relaxing sound. The next one up on our list is called the Echinacea plant. So that one sounded a lot different than the first one. That had more deep tones in it, things like that, where the other was more of a high-pitched kind of mystical, like I said, almost spacey-like. So that is the difference between the Echinacea and the cannabis. But what about the hibiscus plant? Let's find out what it sounds like. And this one is even different, much more hyperactive, right? But there is a difference, and that is this is being recorded in nature opposed to inside of a house. A lot more stimuli out in the open, of course, which may be the reason we're having much more tonal advantage when it comes to this particular plant. Let's listen to the hibiscus just a little bit more. It almost sounds like the background music one would hear in something like, like a suspense movie or something, or like a thriller movie, right? When the action is rising real slow or doing something really creepy. Very, very fascinating. The next one up on our list is the snowdrop. It sounds like this person decided to use the piano instead of the synthesizer, but we can still tell a definite difference in the tempo and the beat, and though it is a different instrument, it also sounds completely different than the other plants we've heard so far. Next up on our list is called the nettle plant. That was hauntingly beautiful. Again, a different tempo, a different beat altogether, a different axiom potential, I think the guy called it. But these are so fascinating that they give off a different sound with each plant, right? Like our next one coming up, the purple glory bush. Isn't that just absolutely beautiful? I'm loving the sounds of these plants. I'm going to go ahead and read off a little bit of the chat real quick. My Life DIY says, it sounds so proper where the marijuana sounds heavenly. I fully agree. The cannabis plant sounded very light and heavenly. Quite a few of them are very, very relaxing. Terry Taggart said one of them sounds healing very much. A lot of them have that healing sounding quality. Errol Taylor, plants like music. And before Terry Taggart typed it in, I was thinking I would love to play the music of one plant, or maybe the same type of plant, or the plant itself, back at it and see if that had a effect of some type. Hello, Alva Yoder, glad to have you here. Hey, Sandy B, dropping in, glad to have you here also. I wonder if weeds have a different sound. I would imagine all plants, weeds or not, would have different sounds, right? Speaking of different sounds, let's get back to this beautiful sound here. Again, that is the song of the Purple Glory Bush, and I was looking for a place where it had a lull in the music, and I just couldn't find one there. Very talkative, very active plant, right? A lot of sound coming out of that one. And last but not least on our list tonight, ladies and gentlemen, we have the music of the the mulberry, the song of the mulberry. And once again, that was part of the song of the mulberry, but absolutely fascinating, right, folks? I mean, I can't get over how thrilling this is that we've made it this far, that we're able to literally listen to plants and the music or electrical potential made into music that is coming off of them. I also think that if we continue this line of research, we could literally find a way to talk to plants. I mean, think about it. We're not that far off. If we could find a way to scribe this into some type of English, it is possible perhaps to literally talk to plants. But what do you guys think? Do you guys think this is as fascinating as I find it? Or do you think it's just another shot in the dark? In the end, ladies and gentlemen, all you can do is look at the evidence, apply a little common sense. You be the judge. We got to close it out. That's right, that's it for this episode of the DarkWolf's Den Show for Thursday, September the 23rd, 2021. So whether you're on the edge of reality, the edge of the galaxy, or the edge of your seat, we're glad you chose us to be right there with you. Ladies and gentlemen, the den may be closing, but don't you worry, the weekend fun has only just begun. That's right. If you come back tomorrow to the Rippin' Rabbit Hole YouTube channel or Rippin' Common Sense Radio Network, you're going to find our buddy AJ the Rippin' Rabbit on at 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central. As a matter of fact, all shows here on the network start at 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central. But he will be live with the Rippin' Rabbit Hole live show and an episode about whistleblowers. That's right. A very, very vital function of corporations are those that blow the whistle on the others that do wrong. A very good incentive not to break the law, right? And there's so much to cover, especially lately with the whistleblowers that we've had coming forward about a variety of different things, right? AJ will be discussing all that and more on Friday, September 24th, 2021, 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central. Central. And then on Saturday at 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central, September 25th, 2021, AJ will be back with an all-new episode of the Rippin' Rabbit Hole live show. That's right. This time he'll be talking about half full and half empty. Is the glass half full? Is it half empty? Or is it somewhere in between, right? I know if you guys keep arguing about it, I'm going to drink it. I know that joke's old, but anyways, ladies and gentlemen, he will be discussing half full, half empty, optimism versus pessimism on Saturday, September 25th, 2021, 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central, right here on Rippin' Common Sense Radio Network, the Rippin' Rabbit Hole. Then on Sunday, September 26th, 2021, 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central, he'll be back to round the weekend out right with one final episode this weekend of the Rippin' Rabbit Hole live show. That's right, he'll be talking about donating your body to science. Like I mentioned last night, they asked my dad if he wanted to donate his body, to which he replied, "They didn't work for me, none of these organs did. Why would I give them to anyone else, right?" But seriously, are you going to donate your body to science? Perhaps you have a special reason or something special science would be interested in. Or is that a bad idea to you? They might not be the smartest idea considering you get into a car wreck and maybe the cop's son needs a kidney, right? All jokes aside, AJ will be on Sunday, September 27th, 2021, 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central, talking about donating your body to science. And that's all coming up this weekend on the Rippin' Common Sense Radio Network, the Rippin' Rabbit Hole. And speaking of the Rippin' Rabbit Hole, make sure you hop on over to the rippinrabbithole.com. That is RIPONRABBITHOLE.com. That's right. Over there, you're going to find a variety of fun things to do, like the Down the Rabbit Hole section, our exclusive social media area. We have a area over there to drop all the information you would like, and it will not be censored like the other guys. While you're over there, make sure you check out our 24/7 Backstage Lounge, one of my favorite places to hang out. Of course, we're going to be right back there right after the show, myself and the other Rippin' Rabbits. So if you want to join us for more conversation, feel free to come on back. It is absolutely free. You will have to sign up for the Backstage VIP Pass when you get onto the website. That is absolutely free, by the way. You don't pay a penny. We will never charge for that, and we do not sell or give away your information either. This, again, is going to give you access to every bit of fun we have on the entire site. And down at the very bottom of this site, there is a place to hit the little red button and record something and send it to us here in the studio. I would love to hear what you guys plan on doing for Halloween. Are you dressing up? Are your kids dressing up? What are the main costumes this year? I want to hear what you're going to be dressing up as for Halloween. So make sure you hit that red button and send it to us in the studio. We'll have a special episode coming up in October. On that note, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of AJ the Rippin' Rabbit, Chick Mandela Effect, Michael Musco, Walt House, everyone involved at Rippin' Common Sense Radio Network, as well as Tom Bayless for this amazing music. Get down with it, Tom. If you're looking for a custom soundtrack for your next project, make sure you check out Red Shed Studios, links in the description. On behalf of all these folks, as well as our incredible mod team, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Jerry Hicks, also known as the Dark Wolf, and you've been listening to the Darkwolf's Den Radio Show, exclusively on Rippin' Common Sense Radio Network, the Rippin' Rabbit Hole. On behalf of all these folks, we wish you a wonderful evening, and remember, until next time, ladies and gentlemen, stay awake, but dare to dream. Good night, everybody. How? Yeah, that's right.
I'm lost and into the dark. Some things are better left unknown, and I'll never find 'cause no one's ever What a widow, a peaceful spider. When the glass is clean, she's a sneaky hider. Hide the lies and the alibis. Oh, what a sinner, is it in her? What's the truth in this riddle? Is love really just this simple? I can't seem to find my way in this world that never stays. What a widow, a peaceful spider. When the glass is clean, she's a sneaky hider. Hide the lies and the alibis. What a sinner, is it in her? Is this real? Just illusion? I'm lost in the wonderland of confusion. I'm lost in the wonderland of confusion. Is this real or just illusion? Manifestation or a dark delusion? Is this real or just illusion? I'm lost in a wonderland of confusion.